Yesterday, news dropped that the Chicago Bulls could be targeting Egor Demin, the guard out of BYU, with the number 12 pick. On today's episode, I want to talk a little bit more about that, add a little bit more color to that. But then I want to look at, if that is the pick at number 12, how the Chicago Bulls can still add another center, whether it be in the draft or in free agency. We're going to talk about all that and more right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. So, came out yesterday around the midday that the Bulls, this one came from the Chicago Sun-Times, so still take it all with a grain of salt, but that the Bulls could be targeting Egor Demin with the number 12 overall pick. This is a guard. This is a guard, whether you look at him shooting guard, small or point guard. People have said, oh, I can see him playing small forward. Stop trying to do the exact same thing y'all try to do with Josh Giddey. He's a guard. He's not a forward. He's not going to do that. Now, maybe he can guard out to some small forwards with his length. He is 6'8", 6'9", with an over 6'10" wingspan. So maybe he is a more active defender than, even though some of his comps is a player like Josh Giddey. He's a lot more active of a defender than Josh Giddey, I think, even is right now as far as off ball and on ball. Still has some big struggles and limitations defensively there. But you guys know, me, I like to see players that actually put in the work on the defensive side of the ball. His off-ball defense is actually probably a benefit for him. His on-ball defense is where I think things need to grow for him. But as he puts on some weight, I can see him being decently solid there, right? And the thing that goes back to this has been a common theme here recently with draft talk, is that if the Bulls see somebody that has a star level upside, they should take that player. If that's the player that's left on the board, is somebody that they legitimately think has star level upside, that's who they should take. Now, for me, I don't necessarily see that in Egor Demin, and I said that on the breaking news episode. But, not to kind of rehash all of that, go back and listen to that episode. I just think that if you're trying to have this extreme passing lineup, which eventually that would be, I think that's okay, but then you have to have really good players around that, right? And so we'll see what happens there. But if Egor Demin is the pick, it does kind of point and maybe allude to the Bulls thinking. I think it's one of the things, right? The most straightforward thing is that they plan on moving Coby White. That would be the most straightforward answer if they're targeting Egor Demin, is that they plan on moving Coby White. At that point, you're then looking at maybe moving with the backcourt at some point, because I don't think they would start Egor Demin right away. I think at that point you're looking at Ayo Dosunmu being your starting shooting guard, which I have said I do think Ayo is kind of as an easier fit next to Josh Giddey. I think that we even saw that last year when Josh Giddey wasn't necessarily playing the best. Him and Ayo's minutes together were decent, right? So, maybe there's something to that. You have Ayo then with the defense, and you're bringing along Egor Demin. I think when you look at the three-guard rotation that we had last year with Josh Giddey, Coby, and Tyus Jones, or Trey Jones, when Trey was healthy, that was actually a nice solid punch for the Bulls. And maybe you can replicate some form of that going forward. Now, I don't think if they draft Igor, they're necessarily trading Coby in the same draft. I've seen people say, well, maybe you trade Coby in the same draft, you get back into the first round. And we'll talk a little bit about that, because that is a possibility. But I think the most straightforward thing is you're then moving on from Coby. The other thing is you are looking to create some type of three-guard rotation where you have ball handlers all around, where you keep Coby, and then you have Igor in the Trey Jones role going forward for maybe a couple of years, and you maybe even still re-sign Coby. That's another process in it. And then the other one is that this could be, and I think it was Vaughn who pointed this out on the live stream, this could be the Bulls doing exactly what they did with Devin Carter. And the Bulls, reportedly, and this came out from Casey Johnson, that they floated that interest in Devin Carter to kind of make teams, maybe to see what teams were going to maybe take him ahead of them. And their interest always was elsewhere. And so, and I know there are going to be some Bulls fans that say, no, they really were going to take Devin. There's a possibility of that, right? So, that's the thing. So there's a couple of different ways that this could go. But either way, right, if the Bulls do draft Igor and his fit, those type of things, the future. You look at some of his comps, Kyle Anderson, Sean Livingston, Denny Advia is a comp for him as well. Josh Giddey is a comp. But Sean Livingston pre-injury, I want to be clear there. Pre-injury Sean Livingston is a really, really decent comp there for Egor Demin. And I guess we shall see, right? If that is the pick that the Bulls are really going with, I think that his off-ball defense, his anticipation getting in the passing lanes are all there. His ability to create shots is really good there as well. I think those are solid things that Igor would bring to the Chicago Bulls team. But then the question is, okay, we all know that we need a big. What happens then if the Bulls do go Igor Demin at number 12? And I've said this before. The Bulls can get back into the first round of this draft, whether it's trading Coby or it's using a combination of the Portland pick, their own seconds, and maybe even a protected pick going forward. The Bulls can get back into this draft, right? And I do think that there are a couple of different scenarios and teams where they could target. I've always said the 26 and 27, they're with the Brooklyn Nets. That's a target without you giving up any players. You can try to get one of those picks off the Brooklyn Nets. I think that is a legit. I think there are going to be a lot of teams there. Number 25 with Orlando. They have the 16th overall pick. Number 25 with Orlando is another one to get in. Again, these are kind of picks in areas without giving up a player that you have on your team. But we know that Orlando has been interested in Coby. The 16th pick could be in play, right? So these are the players that if the Bulls do draft Igor Demin, that the Bulls could get back into the first round or take in the second round. There are two here that are, I think, definitely first round prospects here. But then there are a couple that could be, gotten without trading back into the first round. So the two that are in the first round, Asa Newell. Asa Newell is a player that is commonly mocked to go into the 20s, right? Now, some have him going higher than that, right around 16 to 18. And if that ends up being the case, that's where the Orlando pick will come into place here. And so that's what you'd be looking for. But on average, he's averaged to be mocked around 18 or 19, right? Some have him going higher, some have him going lower. Asa Newell is a guy that the Bulls could get. Now, there's some legitimate questions on if center is going to be his long-term position. Definitely questions there, but we've talked about him. He's drawn comparisons to Drew Gooden, David Lee, those type of players. I do think he's a switchable big. He's definitely a lob threat right away. He does have upside of turning into a shooter as well that is there for him. He's going to have to add pounds. He's going to have to add weight over the course of his NBA career, but that's a lot of these guys who's projected to go around this area, and a lot of the guys that's overall projected to be centers as well in this draft. So, there's that there. He has the offensive upside that he's kind of flashed. The interior scoring, the lob threat is really good. The athleticism, the hustle's really good. The switchable defense is good. The three-point shot not only took 2.7, but hit at a 29% clip, so he's working on that. If that develops, if Asa does develop a consistent three-point shot, he's definitely a 4 in this league. I do think he's developing that 12 to 15-footer as well. He's really good around the game. Around the rim. So is that when it comes down to it. He's had times of being able to drive with the ball in his hands, things like that. So how you view him as the position-wise going forward, I think will matter into that. But he is a player that the Bulls could still get later in this draft if they trade back into the first round. We've talked about the mechanisms to get that done. The other player, and the guy that a lot of you guys do like, and that's Danny Wolf, right? Now, I had problems with Danny Wolf there at number 12 because I do think it's a bit of a reach, but Danny Wolf, a player that is slated by many to go in the 20s, right? I think that, and some even have him going in the second round. He is another guy that you can get, and maybe that's why. Maybe the Bulls are looking at this and they're like, hey, the players that are all kind of slated and best to take around number 12 aren't necessarily our position of need. We feel confident we can get back in there and still get a position of need. So Danny Wolf would offer not really a lot of the defense that we want, but passing-wise, right? We're talking about building a team with passing all up and down the floor, his ability to stretch the floor. He's not a slouch defensively. I want to be clear here. While defense isn't the thing I look at him and say is his calling card, I do think that Danny Wolf is a decent defender at the NBA level, and he's somebody that really could turn into overall a decent player in this league. Well, above decent, especially offensively. He has all the offensive stuff that you're looking for. He can play make, he can ball handle, he can play the 4 or the 5. He's a really good finisher around the lane. He's a smart player when it comes down to it as well. I think that's a really good thing. Like his comps have been like Maxi Kleber, Hito Turkoglu, those type of players. We talked about also the comps to like Mo Wagner, who a lot of Bulls fans do like, right? We'll actually talk about Mo here in a second. So Danny Wolf is another option there for the Bulls. Other options. Now, these are all second-round options. Maxime Reynaud, right? And he's a guy that we did talk about. He is shooting up some draft boards. I do think that he is a skilled big man that you could use at the next level. Defensively, there's still some big questions that I personally have, and other people have pointed out about him defensively as well. But you look at some of the things with rim protection, things like that. Like, he brings some of that a little bit. Right now, I don't think you can get him in here and see what you can develop out of him. I think at worst, he can definitely be a bench big rotation player for you. But maybe you could see some upside here, right? As far as starting level upside, I think that really depends on how the rest of your roster works out. But out of Stanford, Maxime Reynaud, he averaged 20 points per game, 10 rebounds, 1.7 assists on 46% shooting, 34% shooting from three. Last year, he did average over a block per game in his senior year, 1.4 blocks per game. So, hey, it's a guy that maybe very well could, go higher for the Chicago Bulls. Next guy, Ryan Kalkbrenner. Now, we talked a little bit about him out of Creighton, 7'2", legit size, right? 23 years old, a little bit older player in this draft as well. He has that 7'5" wingspan. The lateral quickness is not really there. That's a little bit of a question there for him, is the lateral quickness and how much that's going to be with the switchable defense that most teams run, how important the ability to switch is and defend in space. That's a little bit of a question there for him, right? He's not really a great leaper, so he's not really that, right? So there's that part of it. But you look at his face-up game, decent. His back to the basket game, really decent. His ability to stretch the floor, his communication on the offensive side, his ability to be a connector, that's all really good there for him. And around the rim, he does have the ability to be a lob threat for you there. He's not going to jump out the gym, but a decent lob threat just with that 7'5" wingspan and being 7'2", he has that. Really high floor guy, right? So when you're looking at him, very, very high floor, Ryan Kalkbrenner. Low ceiling, high floor, but maybe that's what you're looking for depending on what you do with some other things on your team. Next up, the last player that we're going to – well, no, not the last player, but we got one more player to talk about after him. Rocco Zikarsky, right? We talked about him before. This is a very raw guy. 7'4", though, legit 7'5" wingspan. He has the height, has all those type of things. And I do think when you look at AK, kind of makes some sense for what this could be somebody that he's looking up for. He's raw in everything, right? I've said it before. Right now, he's not good on-ball defense. He's not good off-ball defense. He's not good at post scoring yet. Right now, he will be a rebounder, a lob threat, and an ability to maybe protect the rim just with his overall length as a whole, right? That could be the question there. So I think that's really what you're betting on. But AK was part of the front office that drafted Nikola Jokic. So I mean, maybe you can get into that one, right? Guarding in space is going to be a problem for him as well. But I do think he's going to be a lob threat. He's going to be a rim protector right away. I don't think you start him. I think he's going to be a player that you're probably looking at a 2-year project at minimum before he's playing heavy minutes. Now, play before then, but heavy minutes is going to take a little bit of time, right? So because he is that raw of a player, he's added reportedly 30 pounds while still maintaining the athleticism he had. His athleticism really wasn't the best thing for him anyway, so adding that weight and that bulk could really help him there as well. So, people have said he's a bigger Andres Biedrus, who was a player that was able to stay around the league for a little while and a little bit of time. So you're looking there. Now, the player that I do think could definitely be there in round 2, right? Now, this is just adding, again, I've said it before, tough motherfuckers, right? But that's Johnni Broome. I do think if you go guard in the first round with Egor Demin, a power forward slash center combo like Johnni Broome is almost picture made perfect for you, right? A guy that just comes in, he knows how to do his job, he does his job, he keeps it pushing, he does the dirty work for you. A defender, a tough guy. He can guard. He's going to try to block shots, right? He's going to do all the kind of dirty work you look for from a center, right? Old school type center mentality while still having some scoring upside, right? I think his toughness will really be what you're looking at for, overall, like his ability to just not back down. He's not the biggest guy on the court. He's not the strongest guy on the court, but at 6'10", 240 pounds, a decent enough wingspan. I look at Johnni Broome and I'm like, in the second round, if you want to go high floor in the second round, he legitimately has all that, right? 6'10" with a 7'1" wingspan, strength, solid touch around the basket, right? He got 10.8 rebounds per game, 2.1 blocks, and 18 points. In the second round, again, if you're going high floor, Johnni Broome brings a lot of that of what you could need there. So those are the guys that I think the Bulls could still get in this draft, even if they do go Egor Demin here with pick 12. But I also want to look at free agent possibilities here, right? So we've talked a little bit about this when that initial rumor of the Bulls free agent target list came out. But some of the guys that are free agents this year, Mo Wagner is a free agent this year. Now, it is a team option. He is coming off an ACL injury, so there is concerns there, especially at being a big. But Mo, being 28 years old, could be somebody that you can look to bring in that's ready to start now for you while you find your center of the future. If you do draft a Rocco or something like that, a Maxime that, can come in, start for you, and then you're seeing what you got there, right? Naz Reid. Now, that is a player that I've said it before. The Bulls have a $20 million trade exception, which they can do a sign and trade for Naz Reid and absorb him into that trade exception. Now, the thing with that, though, is that if you do that, fine. But, they would have to send out another player, whether it's Patrick Williams or whether it's a Javon Carter, right, as expiring contract to keep you from going into the luxury tax. But it is a possibility there. Miles Turner, another guy, maybe a sign and trade possibility for you. But I think with the Pacers, the run that they are on, they're going to want to keep their team together, right? Clint Capella, 31. Maybe in for some veteran depth, but as a starting guy, I'm not necessarily looking at there at all personally. Dwight Powell, no, I'm good on that one. So that's really what you're looking at there as far as the free agent market if you're looking at a center, which, again, could be another place that the Bulls have. They do have, even if they don't want to use a trade exception, they have roughly between 15 and 18-ish million dollars to operate with on the free agent market to use their mid-level exception also if they want to try to bring in a veteran center if they choose to do so. Trade market is still a thing as well there. So if the Bulls do draft Igor, there's still a path where you still get a center in here. Maybe not your center, flat out your center of the future. That could happen with some of these other ones, but the Bulls would have to be aggressive about going out there and doing that, and we'll see ultimately what happens there. But let me know what your guys think on things down below. Now, one of the players that the Bulls do have coming in for a workout as well before we get a little bit into the mailbag is Alabama point guard Mark Sears. Now, this is another guard, so maybe this does point to what the Bulls are doing. Now, Mark Sears is a second-round prospect, and he maybe even could go undrafted, right? There's a chance. There's 6'1", 190 pounds. He averaged last year 18.6 points, 2.9 rebounds, 5.1 assists on 40% shooting from the field and 34% shooting from three last year, but he's a career 37% three-point shooter, taking 5 threes per game. So there you go on that one as well. He also gets to the free throw line quite a bit, 5.3 free throws per game for his collegiate career. He was a 5-year center down there as well. So that is a player that the Bulls have brought in or are planning to bring in for a workout in person. So I think there's something like the Bulls plan on taking a guard somewhere in here, right? So whether that is them kind of maximizing just their net or things like that, we'll end up seeing. But Mark Sears is somebody that the Bulls are looking to bring in for a draft. That doesn't necessarily mean they're looking to draft him in, but they are bringing him in for a workout. But with that said, it is Monday. Got some voicemails to catch up on. The first one, this one's from Josh.
This is Josh out in AZ again, calling again. So I rewatched your video on the Paul George the possibility of the Bulls taking the 76ers up on that Paul George trade. And I know nobody likes the idea of, having Paul George on the team. He's not good anymore, kind of washed. And he's over 50 mil, but you feel me? Just to play around with the idea, cause I do like the idea of getting the third pick, but, just to play around with it, I hopped on the trade machine to just see if there could be anything that could work in the Bulls' favor. And this would definitely have to be like the 76ers are so desperate to get Paul George off, they're willing to take anything. Kind of like how we was with Zach LaVine last season. So I don't think this is gonna happen at all. 100%. We're probably gonna just stay at 12 and whatnot. But and working the trade machine, the Bulls would trade Nikola Vucevic, Patrick Williams and Kevin Huerter. You feel me? And then that's it. That was all they'd be trading. And then they would be receiving from the 76ers, Paul George, that center, they got a Dem Bona. I definitely do like that guy, and he's only on a like $2 million contract, and then also the number 3 pick. So if the 76ers are, you feel me, desperate enough, like, I don't know, this is a kind of trade where I wouldn't mind it. It still sucks to have that big of a contract on the books. However, getting that number 3 pick and keeping our number 12 pick, I think would help a lot, and we'd be able to get rid of Vooch and Pat Will. So, like, killing 2 birds with 1 stone right there. Sucks to lose Kevin Huerter, but I mean, feel like, yeah, you need to add some type of good thing for the 76ers if they just gonna lose their pick like that. But hey, they'll have the cap space. So tell me what you think. Be red. Okay.
Listen, you are very unlikely to be getting a Dem Bona and the number 3 without giving up the 12. I just think that's like, they're not looking to give away number 3. They're only giving away number 3 if they're getting basically a star back, right? So I doubt you're getting that for Vooch, P. Will. You're not getting that for it. Now, could the Bulls legitimately make a turn to try to move into the top 3? Like I said, it would have to come down to moving Coby, and then the 76ers would have to really, really believe in Coby White. And I don't know if they do with having McCain there and Tyrese Maxey, but maybe they do. I mean, weirder things have happened. It's not like Daryl Morey hasn't had James Harden and Tyrese Maxey. That was his plan. Like, keep in mind, Daryl Morey wanted to keep James Harden on that team and go forward with Harden and Maxey. So, that's the thing you got to look at there. But I highly doubt, as much as I would love to say that this is like some realistic trade. I love a Dem Bona. I do like him as a prospect for sure. I don't think there's a world in which you're getting a Dem Bona and number 3 without giving up number 12. And even then, I still don't think you're getting number 3 and a Dem Bona personally. So, we'll see what happens. I do think the Bulls are probably going to be looking to be active just to see what they can do in this draft, but that doesn't mean they're going to pull the trigger on something, but we shall see. All right, let's get into this next voicemail, man. This one is from Soul.
What's good, Hayes? This your boy Soul calling from Toledo, Ohio. I'd like to make the comment pretty much about the whole thing when you had put up the survey about the Dallas Mavericks and the Orlando Magic. Today's the 25th of May, and pretty much me personally, as I put in the survey, that I like the Dallas Mavericks. The whole multiple first, Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford, or Washington. One of those guys, or whatever the case may be, with multiple firsts for Coby White. As much as I love Coby White, honestly and truthfully, Iowa Sumo could start in his place if that trade came along. And also, I agree with what you say. If the Bulls send out offers to Coby and it doesn't look like you're going to be able to sign him next year in the offseason, get rid of him. If he don't look like he's your future plans, as much as we may like him, and trust me, I love Coby White, but get rid of him. And a trade like that, personally, I found to be better because you're getting back big guys. Washington, he could be a small forward, power forward. Lively and Gafford, those are both centers, or they could play a little power forward. And said multiple first. That caught my eye too. I doubt if they give Lively, but Gafford, I never wanted the Bulls to trade him when they traded him. I was mad that day when they traded him, when they made the trades that they made back then, but that's a whole nother story. So to get him back in multiple first, I would love something like that. At the expense of Coby, like I said, as much as I love Coby, Iowa Sumo, the whole number 16th pick with the number 1, I won't want the 16th pick. And we do not need Cole Anthony. Like, the last thing we need is another point guard, shooting guard, want to be shooting guard. And I love Cole Anthony game, but I just don't want him for the Bulls. We got enough guards. We need to start working on the big man. So, everybody go Bulls, see red. Everybody have a good day, good weekend. Peace.
It comes down to business is business, man. If the Bulls aren't sure that they're going to be able, or if they doubt that they're going to be able to retain Coby, whether it be because of them not wanting to pay the contract or Coby not willing to sign what they feel is a reasonable offer, you have to move them, period. Like, you have to move them. The Bulls have been behind the 8 ball on losing assets for nothing for too long. It is, if you're going to move away from an asset like Coby at 25 years old, you might as well trade him and get something back for him. Now, the chances of you getting something back for him that's as good as him, slim. But I think you do need to do that. And it just comes down to business is business, right? I want my franchise to operate as a smart front office, and to do that, you got to stay ahead of the curve. You got to stay ahead of when you could possibly lose out on some players and if they're going to walk. I think that's the ultimate thing. Of course, you have other people who have their narratives of why they want to move Coby and stuff like that. I'm looking at it from just the business aspect. If you are not sure that you are going to retain Coby White, and if you have doubts that you're going to be able to retain him, you move him. You move him. And whether that's leading into the trade deadline, whether that's at the draft when you get a better offer, it sucks because I do love Coby White, but business is business. And sometimes you just have to operate like a smart business. And we'll see what that future does hold, and if that ends up being moving off of Coby White. But let me know what you guys think on that down below. Make sure you guys are following us at Bull Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that's thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See you right if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.